Nice to be with all of you again. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the session the other day with our wonderful friends Nimai Chandrapru and Pranasaki Mataji. And now it's
just the two of us.
Just the two of us. Sorry. Yes. So but we love to read.
We like to read so much. He's distracted by what's.
Yes, exactly. So let's see what happens. All right.
Canto 3, chapter 33. So we started text 6 and we read the verse and the first paragraph. So we're going to start the second paragraph and the purport, which is an enormous purport.
Enormous.
36.
Okay.
Well, not 36 to 6. Verse 6.
Verse 6.
33, 6. Alright.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 6. I'll just say the verse just to recap, but then I'll read the second paragraph. Right, the verse is to say nothing of the spiritual master of persons who see... to say nothing of the spiritual advancement of persons who see the Supreme Person face to face. Even a person born in a family of dog eaters immediately becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he at once utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, or even remembers him. Another consideration here is that persons who are purified by the process of chanting and hearing become immediately eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices. Generally, only a person who is born in a family of Brahmanas who has been reformed by the 10 kinds of purificatory processes and who is learned in Vedic literature is allowed to perform the Vedic sacrifices. But here the word sadhya immediately is used, and Sridhar Swami also remarks that one can immediately become eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices.
Just, sorry to interrupt, but just so it's clear, the word sadhya means immediately. The way that was read kind of sounded like that, but here the word sadhya immediately is used.
I see.
It's not immediately used. The word sadhya means immediately. So,
Thank you for immediately interrupting to explain that.
Sadhya means immediately.
I shall immediately continue.
Okay.
A person born in a family of the low caste, which is accustomed to eat dogs, is so positioned due to his past sinful activities. But by chanting or hearing once in pureness or in an offenceless manner, he is immediately relieved of the sinful reaction. Not only is he relieved of the sinful reaction, but he immediately achieves the result of all purificatory processes. Taking birth in the family of a Brahmana is certainly due to pious activities in one's past life, but still a child who is born in a family of a Brahmana depends for his further reformation upon initiation into acceptance of a sacred thread and many other reformatory processes. But a person who chants the holy name of the Lord, even if born in a family of chandalas, dog eaters, does not need reformation. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna, he immediately becomes purified and becomes as good as the most learned Brahmana. Nice points to hear that it's not about the birth that one takes, but about accepting the pure process. Is how we become purified. They often give this example because I'm so amused by it. But like the man down the road where our parents live, he owns like a snack shop, Indian snack shop. He's a Brahmin, and it's always like he's a Brahmin, like it meant something. He was born into a Brahmin family, if you know what I mean. And then one time he was going out the door in the snack shop, of his newspaper because he was going to the bookies to place his bets. And I was saying, my dad, what sort of Brahmin is this? And my dad's like, he's a Brahmin, what's your problem? But it's not. It's about the activities and our purification. It's not just, that's my caste, I was born into it. Clearly I'm a Brahmin, regardless of what else I may or may not be doing. But Prabhupada explaining that, no, even someone who would be considered like pretty lowly, dog eaters, shudras, whatever, they can become higher than a Brahmin, which is very controversial, and Prabhupada met with a lot of opposition because of these views. Very controversial thing, especially in India, to say like that someone who's lowly, like Shudra or whatever, then they, it's all like, for example, white-bodied people who have Brahmin thread, and then it's like, how can they have a Brahmin thread? What is this? Oh, but Prabhupada explains that that's how it is, isn't it?
I am Brahmin.
Okay.
Yes. But I mean, it's not just Prabhupada saying this, and actually all the way back to the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was battling against this, what's known as a smarta mentality, the smarta Brahmins, who are very fixed and strict in a certain understanding or interpretation, extrapolation of Shastra. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just in the case of both Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, who according to smarta extrapolation, were outcasts because they were born in Brahmins' families, but they took up the posts under the not the Qazi, but the Nawab Hussain Shah, and they were given Muslim names, so therefore they were considered outcasts by the Brahmin community. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initiated them, and we see that they went on to spread the knowledge of Brahminical culture farther and wider than probably anyone else. Haridas Thakur was born in also a Mohammedan family, and by the Brahmin Smartas considered an outcast. But he was installed as the Namacharya by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that meant he was chanting 300,000 names of God every day, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And there are other, I guess you could say, protests against this mentality that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu put in place. But that continued. Mahaprabhu fought against it. Bhaktivedanta Thakur also fought against it. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur fought against it. There's a really wonderful book, if you get a chance to read. I've not read it from cover to cover, but have read through much or most of it, called Brahmana and Vaishnava, which kind of extrapolates this point and this diversity of understanding what is Vaishnava and what is Brahmin. Because of course one can be quote unquote born into a family of Brahmins. Just like, one may be born into a family, Prabhupada uses this example of high court judges. It means your mom may be a high court judge, your father may be a high court judge, maybe even your grandfather was a high court judge, and an uncle, maybe so many people in your family are judges. But that does not mean that you are a judge, but it definitely does mean that you were born into a family of judges. So there is a truth to be born into a Brahmin family. I may be a Brahmin by caste, but Brahmin, Chatur Varnam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 4.13, that one's Varna is determined by guna and karma, means by your qualities and by your actions, so like that. So it's a very important point. I was thinking that I wonder if that's stopping this. Someone's just calling us now. I'm gonna click that off. So I was wondering, what stood out for me, of course, your point is really, really powerful and potent and true. The other side is just imagine the potency of devotional service and the power of the holy name. That even someone who's born so far away from the culture, the practices of high spiritual life, just by chanting can be elevated. And what I noted was Srila Prabhupada says here, he says, but by chanting or hearing once, chanting or hearing once in pureness, so that means Shuddhanam. So if you hear Shuddhanam or you chant Shuddhanam, then he says, or an offenseless manner, which means namabas. That is the offenseless stage. So there are 3 stages of chanting. Namaparad, which is the offensive, namabas, which means the clearing or the offenseless stage, and Shuddhanam, which means pure chanting. So just by chanting once on the Shuddhanam platform, the Namabas platform or Shuddhanam platform, then one can be, what does it say? He's immediately relieved of the sinful reaction. I mean, that is the power of the holy name, and why we should really, we should strive to chant on the offenseless or pure name because it pleases Krishna. But just see the effect of doing that. So that was one thing that stood out for me.
Okay, next paragraph.
Would you like to read since I just talked so much?
No.
Okay. Sridhar Swami especially remarks in this connection, Anena pujatvam lakshate. Some caste brahmanas remark that by chanting Hare Krishna, purification begins. Of course, that depends on the individual process of chanting. But this remark of Sridhar Swami's is completely applicable if one chants the holy name of the Lord without offense, for he immediately becomes more than a brahmana. As Sridhar Swami says, pujatvam, he immediately becomes as respectable as a most learned brahmana, and can be allowed to perform Vedic sacrifices. That's another thing that just would not be allowed. If simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord one becomes sanctified instantly, then what can be said of those persons who see the Supreme Lord face to face and who understand the descent of the Lord as Devahuti understands Kapila Dev? I think it speaks for itself.
Okay. Next paragraph. Usually initiation depends on the bona fide spiritual master who directs the disciple. If he sees that a disciple has become competent and purified by the process of chanting, he offers the sacred thread to the disciple just so that he will be recognized as 100% equal with a brahmana. This is also confirmed in the Hare Bhakti Vilas by Sri Sanatana Goswami. As a base metal like bell metal can be changed into gold by a chemical process, any person can similarly be changed into a brahmana by Diksha Vidana, the initiation process. Interesting. I was just thinking that it says anyone can be changed into a brahmana by the initiation process. So it seems to me that therefore you get the qualification. No, you get the title, but doesn't mean you get the qualification.
Can you extrapolate?
Because, well, for one thing, it's like after you get your Brahmin, people say, how are you feeling the next day? Hey, oh yeah, I've sprouted 2 extra arms and now I'm on the Vaikuntha platform. You're still the same person. Obviously, you've worked to get, one would hope, not always, but most times one has worked to get that recommendation for Brahmin, but it's still a process to acquire those
qualifications or qualities
of, you know, your nature and just how it feels. It's not that you got the initiate, you know, the next day after first initiation, you change your name, you got the neck beads, and then you still got to go to work and you're still the same person. Of course, some people do, you know, there is some sense of wow, whoa, what was that? And you feel something, but meaning it's the beginning of some serious work.
Yeah, initiation means to begin. So I guess it says by the process. So initiation is a process because initiate literally means to begin. So
yes, that's correct.
That is correct. Okay. It is sometimes remarked that by the chanting process one begins to purify himself and can take birth in his next life in a Brahmin family and then be reformed. But at this present moment, even those who are born in the best Brahmana families are not reformed, nor is there any certainty that they are actually born of Brahmin fathers. Formerly, the Garbhodan reformatory system was prevalent, but at the present moment there is no such Garbhodan or seed-giving ceremony. Under these circumstances, no one knows if a man is factually born of a Brahmin father. Whether one has acquired the qualification of a Brahmin depends on the judgment of the bona fide spiritual master. Interesting. He bestows upon the disciple the position of a Brahmana by his own judgment. When one is accepted as a Brahmana in the sacred thread ceremony under the Pancharatrika system, then he is Dvija, twice born. That is confirmed by Sanatana Goswami. Dvija tvam jayate. By the process of initiation by the spiritual master, a person is accepted as a Brahmana in his purified state of chanting the holy name of the Lord. He then makes further progress to become a qualified Vaishnava, which means that the Brahminical qualification is already acquired. Yeah, because a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana, already has the qualities of a Brahmana. Again, it's about qualities, and that's, you could say, it's not given by the initiation process. The qualities are already there. The initiation puts the kind of stamp on it and gives the endorsement and or the support, the spiritual support to manifest them more fully. But normally the initiation process wouldn't take place to give one the qualities one already must be exhibiting, either some level of those qualities or the intense desire to develop those qualities, and then the official connection or the routine, let's say, with Brahmin initiation, the routine. What is the routine of getting the sacred thread? It means that thrice, 3 times daily, one would chant Gayatri mantra. And I mean, that's a whole thing, actually. Chanting the Gayatri mantra. And it means you sit in a certain way, in a certain place, at a certain time, and you chant these mantras in a meditative state in remembrance of the meaning of those mantras. And ultimately, the deeper that one goes into the chanting of those, the more qualified one becomes as I guess you could say, as a Brahmin. Which is, what does that mean? Brahmin is one who knows Brahman and one who is situated in goodness. So like that, the modes of goodness. A few thoughts.
Okay.
Is that the end of that?
Yes, we're stuck there because the next one is humongous.
Humongous. Okay. Any closing remarks to all of our wonderful viewers out there? Any shout outs? How about a shout out to
Abhijit Krishna Prabhu.
Abhijit Krishna Prabhu? Okay. Nice to see Abhijit
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And our friend in India, who was
Shivraj.
Shivraj Prabhu, yes.
I hope you're still watching, Shivraj Prabhu.
Yeah,
if you are, leave a comment so we know.
And thank you
and
very
obviously
much.
to Dawn and Sally.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for always being there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, and to Sri Devi Dasa.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Please read the Srimad Bhagavatam and live a blissful life. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hari Hari Bol.